Hey, welcome back, everybody. Time to join the journey of finding your fit as we run into life with our host, Caren Ware, world-class runner who is always running off to some part of the world or staging a run right here in Southern California. Today, we got her to sit still for 5 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, and bring along one of the people she ran into along the way. Welcome, Caren.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited about today because I'm super excited about this young man and watching him run around the world and run and grow. And I'm going to tell you some three, I guess we're going to just chat and talk about some three, or lots of things, but three major places that we were able to go together. And I'll give you a little background real quick. But we're going to talk about going to Iceland and filming on the level of National Geographic. We're going to talk to you about also going to Maui. And these are increments of his growth. I met him when he was 16, and then he filmed and did something for me in Maui when he was 17. And then we went together during the COVID shutdowns and filmed in Iceland when he was 18.
How did you meet him? You met him in a race or something?
Yeah, right? So I actually started putting on Caren Ware events. I timed races for an incredible amount of years, and that's how I met the inner city Hispanic boys and the girl and got them all off to college. But I shifted feet and I came back to Southern California after spending 3 years in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and thought I'm going to take a lot and turn it into a lot of fun and make events for everybody and everybody. So my first event was a Halloween-themed event at Irvine Valley College, and it didn't get a huge attendance because you kind of have to start somewhere. My feelings were a little disappointed, and then I looked out of the crowd and I jumped up on the stage, and I saw this young man, a high school kind of student, working so well with his siblings, a younger sister and a younger brother, warming them up and getting them all excited. And he also had a camera in his hand, and he was filming. And so I went over and just introduced myself and said, "Hey, I'm so impressed with you as a young man doing it." And he politely came up to me after the race because I saw him filming everything, and he said, "Miss," and he always calls me Mrs. Ware, right? So I want to let him tell you more of the story. But he goes, "Mrs. Ware, I am aspiring to be a filmmaker someday, and I am young and I don't have a lot of content, but you do. Can I film for you?" And he is the one that has taken my races and made it live for you guys on the YouTube channel. And he was kind of the first to envision that this is going to be the next wave of what we need. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and where you went to school after that and what you did end up doing. And then we're going to jabber and talk about what it was like for me to take a young man in high school aspiring to be a filmmaker and take him to a race in Maui.
Give him a break.
Yeah, here we go.
Awesome. Here we go.
My name is Hassan Aboukhadijeh. Mr. Ware, it's obviously a pleasure to be
you
on the
say
show
that
today.
so quickly. Let's say it slowly here. Hassan Aboukhadijeh. All right.
There you go. Hassan Aboukhadijeh.
And you try to spell that, that's for sure.
Aboukhadijeh.
DJ.
DJ.
Yeah.
Aboukhadijeh. So
my friends when I was younger used to say, Hassan, I booked the DJ. To make it a little bit easier.
I booked the DJ. That's
Yeah.
All right. And you're from where?
I'm originally from Syria. I grew up in Sacramento, and then just before high school moved down to SoCal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Orange County.
And
Orange County influence.
what brought your parents here? Were you part of the exodus of the Civil War?
No. Actually, we can't. So I was born in Syria when I was under a year old. Me and my mom made our way here to the States. We landed in New York and then immediately to California. So I grew up here. I've been here my whole life, and we would visit Syria every summer for 3 months prior to the war. And then just recently, things have gotten a lot better, and we're able to go back and forth now.
Because you just came back from Syria.
Yeah, just literally a day ago.
Yeah, like last night. Like we're talking jet lag
So
here.
if he drops off, we know why here. Falls asleep.
But yep.
And what does your mom do?
My mom,
she
just stays at home, and my dad is an engineer. He works for one of the world's largest biomed companies.
Okay, all right, okay. And where'd the dream to be a filmmaker come from?
Yeah, so I think the story, that first meeting, meeting Miss Ware was such a critical time in my life. I was really just kind of looking for what I wanted to do with my life at the time. And it was kind of by accident. I wasn't really super interested into cameras and filmmaking, but I picked up a camera and that slowly kind of grew. And the timing of meeting Miss Ware was really cool. So I was just kind of looking for an opportunity of what I wanted to do next. And having that camera in my hand and meeting Miss Ware was really cool because it was kind of the first sign of, hey, maybe I could really do something with this. So obviously, thank you to Miss Ware for giving me that opportunity, because that opened up really everything that came after. But yeah, I did a couple projects with Miss Ware, which ended up going extremely well, and then I ended up turning that into my first business. And you know, again, I thank Miss Ware for giving me that
Was there
first
school
opportunity.
in between, or
And
did you
you're
just go
talking about a 16, 17-year started his first business. He started a filmmaking unit called Simplicity Films.
Yep.
And then I said, Hassan, I have to go do this race on the Hawaiian Islands. Will you be my crew? And it's an excuse. And then let's just play around. Let's film it. And while we're on the island, he goes, okay, Mrs. Ware, you have to take us to the airport. We're gonna jump on a helicopter. This is a 17-year-old. I go, wait, how much is this helicopter? Oh, no. I contacted them and all that stuff, and in exchange for film footage, they're gonna let us fly. And we're going to just do a flyover, because it would.
He talked his way into a helicopter?
Yeah, a helicopter ride with when you go to Maui, there's tour helicopters, copter rides. But he goes, it'll give us a bigger perspective, and it'll let us show the islands off. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, hey, we have to go to the scooter company. The scooter company, we're going to ride the scooters around and film it. Oh, they have a motorcycle racing here on the, I don't know. You just start telling me. And then we're in whale watching boats, and we pretty much.
So let's back up a second here. Okay, so 1 minute you're like, I pick up a camera and I start playing with it. The next minute you're at a race and she says, you want to film some stuff? Or you say to her, can I film some stuff?
I think it was almost mutual.
Yeah,
Miss Ware needed the video footage, and then I was just kind of looking for an opportunity, so it was a perfect.
And now you're riding along as she runs along to these different races, and you're talking people along the way into volunteering and letting, hey, can we use your helicopter? Can we use your scooter? Can we use your something here?
Yeah, I mean, to this day, I still do that. It's just about being very resourceful and obviously providing value where you can.
Well, you know what we call that in the film business? That's run and gun.
Run and gun shooting, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's very, very talented at it. From there, and I think the reason he knew about the helicopter is that he had a contract at 17 years old to do for a renowned artist or a beautiful artist, and she had him in the studio, and he was just doing this film of paint dripping and all that stuff, and he goes, I think we need to make you look as big as your creativity is. And he rented a helicopter, put her in the sand, and you can tell us about that, because I think, and tell them where they can go check out that video footage. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, this was one of my earlier clients. She was an artist based in Miami, and we actually traveled to South Korea together for about 2 weeks. She was hosting her artwork in one of the world's biggest art conventions. And yeah, just really kind of, my earlier clients were extremely different, right? It wasn't one specific industry.
Exactly,
I was working
industry.
with all types of people. I also worked with one of the world's biggest producers, Hit Boy. That was really fun. And just, really trying to showcase whatever their process, their business was, and trying to share that with the world in the most creative way possible.
I gotta stop again. You just make this sound so simple. So one day I'm playing with a camera. The next day I'm at a run. And you say, hey, maybe I could film those. And she says, maybe you could. Maybe you could help me. And all of a sudden you're running along. And then you're getting other people to run along. And you're what, 18, 19,
Exactly.
20, something like this here? Was there ever a stop to go to school and to learn how to do this? Or was like, no, I'll just figure it out as we go along the way?
Yeah, so my senior year of high school, before going to college, I did go to San Francisco State University. So I did do 4 years of film school.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
But it's almost like the film school was in the way.
Yeah, right. It sounds like
He was just doing it to
It
get
really was. My
yeah.
senior year, I had a very small schedule. I was traveling, some of those trips, Ms. Ware, was also with you. I won a competition. It was a competition, like a digital marketing competition.
Okay.
And I got flown out to Bali for 2 weeks.
What?
With the CEO of this company while being in high school. So I missed a good chunk of my senior year, but I still graduated.
You have traveled the world and pursuing this vision. This is what Caren always talks about. Just start running. Just start going.
And running into people and seeing, not just sitting back and just hoping it falls in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Or sending out a resume and saying, can I do this?
Yeah.
You just start doing it.
I think one of the biggest lessons, I guess, that I learned from Miss Ware, which obviously will always be grateful for, is really just there's a lot of good people out there, and all it takes is making that connection. So the way we met, allowed me to learn that, hey, you should not be afraid to put yourself out there and meet people, because those connections turn into big opportunities. And
So
that was
as a
super
young
important.
kid, with not a lot of what should we say work examples to show people. How do you get hired by somebody? Yes, you went to school and you won a competition or two, but how do you meet big hip hop producers? How do you meet artists that take you to Miami? How do you? There are filmmakers out there that have graduated years ago from some big film school, and they're still shooting weddings, or they're still shooting, I don't know, local commercials or something here, and dreaming of bigger projects. So what would you tell them? Or how did you do it, and what would you tell them?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think a lot of the traditional approaches would be to, like, like you said, send your resume, send an email. I just got very creative with Instagram. I was very early to using it, and kind of, I would just DM these big names and these big artists, and I would
direct message for all this old fogies in the room.
I would just direct message them with a very
I'm glad you told me what that was.
she was gonna cover and pretend she didn't know what she knew what it was.
Yeah, so I would just creatively DM them. It wouldn't just be a simple message. I would either voice note, I would send them a video, I would make them a video before even getting the opportunity to work with them.
Okay.
Maybe with like previous footage that
not saying
I find.
Call me and I'll then show you what I can do. I'll show you up front what I can do.
Exactly. Yeah, just providing value first, and then basically offering something where I could just make the connection. I could meet them, and then once they saw my personality, my work, then maybe that would turn into something bigger as well.
So here's a really good example of who Hassan is, and who I know he was and is becoming, and all that stuff. During COVID, they opened everything back up, and then we had the Delta virus, and they shut everything back down. I had signed up for the Reykjavik. I think that's how you say your Reykjavik in Iceland, their marathon, and we heard like I think the day or the couple days before that they ended up having to, or feeling like they should cancel it, and I thought, I'm going to run it anyway. I already have the tickets. My son was going to come with me, and he put a thing out there to get his visa renewed like 6 months in advance. And it was the time that 1.7 million visas were lost into the government, and he got his visa the day after we left. So I had an extra ticket, and I thought, shoot, I know what I'm going to do with it. I am going to call Hassan. I go, Hassan, are you up for... And here's the deal on the island, you know, because you have to quarantine for 10 days anytime you land. And I thought, wait, it takes 10 days to get around that island. I'm renting a camper van, and we just signed up, and that was our quarantine. So go to our YouTube channel, dig it all up, and we have, visiting Iceland. And he did an amazing, beautiful, I mean, it's like National Geographic quality. He goes, Mrs. Ware, the same thing. There's a volcano erupting on this island. Let's hike out to it. And you tell me that, other things.
And are you shooting this as a one-man crew here?
Yeah, one-man run and gun style.
Run and gun.
Just kind of scripting it and planning it as we go.
Run and gun is where you just grab a camera like you're off in a war zone, and you just run right into it, and you just start shooting and filming, and the bullets are flying.
Because
news crews do run and gun. They just grab.
I mean, Iceland is so beautiful that every corner you look, there's something to capture. The waterfalls, the volcanoes.
But run and gun means you have no plan. You're just filming as you go. You're trying to capture stuff. There's no pre-planned shooting schedule or story.
So it is kind of a mutual thing, because he goes, there's a airplane that crashed. I think it was a American airplane, and way out. I mean, you had to hike forever, and there's no real trail to it. It was like flying down on and it was amazing footage that he got out at that airplane crash. And then I go, okay, well, we were trying to one up each other. I'm going to put you on a horse. They have these ponies on this island, and they're amazing. They're like riding Labrador puppies, and they're amazing animals. And
so miniature horses.
We're going to find one of these horse ranches way out there in Iceland, and we're going to just ride across the plains. And
so you're making it up as you go along.
Yeah. So then I think it was you. He can drone footage, and he has all these things that were just like new. He was tinking with everything when it was just on the cusp. I think he was one of the first people I know that flew a drone. Well, those poor horses had never seen a drone. The drone went up, and the horse he was on took off and went back to the village.
The horse left you. You went on the horse.
Yeah.
Took off.
And so we're like, oh, that
so
was. They thought it was a bee.
I got to stop both of you. You're both acting like this is normal. This ain't normal. This ain't the way most people run their life. They plan. They dream, and then they plan, and then they check everything, and they have an itinerary, and they have backups, and they have all
Well,
this stuff here.
that's what they told us. They said, "Hey, everything's canceled," and I said, "For who?" So
Yeah, not for you
I
guys.
ran the Reykjavik Marathon, a person of one. I went out and I put
ran the course, right?
Yeah, and I thought, okay, I'm going to run the course, and my aid stations are going to be whatever bakery I can run into, and literally run into it, get water and all that stuff. And we took off, and he is filming it. And as we were running through the town, the news got out that there's one lady that showed up and is actually running the marathon.
Yeah.
And they came out in the streets, and they're going, "Bravo, bravo!" We had this cheering squad. And when we got back into town, I think it was the mayor, the council, and the recreation department invited us to come to an award ceremony so that they could gift us, because they'd already bought medals.
Yeah,
for
they
the-
bought medals and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
so and
But what do you
we
say
made
to
the
people
newspaper.
like me and the rest of the people listening saying, I can't do that? Hassan, what do you say to everybody, every young filmmaker says, I can't just do this on the fly without a plan, without a net, not knowing where I'm going, what I'm doing, where the next thing comes from here. I got to have more of a plan. I gotta do this more slowly.
Well, you know,
here.
it's very interesting, and I'm so grateful for knowing Hassan and watching him grow up as a young man. He has a super balance of both. You know, it's not just reckless, random. You know, I see people ruin their lives a little bit because they run out of finances and
Yeah,
all that stuff. You
exactly.
can run into trouble.
Yeah.
He makes sure it's calibrated, calculated.
So I want to hear from him. You're answering for him
I
here.
know.
I want to hear him.
Yeah.
How did this develop?
Sure.
How do you? Is this the norm for your generation? Because you're young and anything can happen. So let's just do it. Or is this something you learned watching
so
somebody?
I think a big part of it was so the first skill that I learned right after meeting Miss Ware was definitely filmmaking and creating videos in general.
Right.
But it took a little bit more than that, because it's not just about being resourceful, right? You have to learn how to connect and speak with people and understand how you can exchange value. So
Clearly.
a big thing that I learned from Miss Ware is that, hey, not only just put your backpack on and go see the world and take those risks, but I did it in a way where I knew that filmmaking wasn't enough. I needed some business skills, whether that was speaking and communicating with people, even sales. Right, sales is a big part of it. You're always
Big part of it.
selling yourself every
Yeah.
single day. So what I learned was just very creative ways. So after those very cool, fun trips that I did with Miss Ware, I ended up staying in $20 million villas in Mexico,
What?
crazy villas in Europe, and these were all through clients and setting up in a way where they're getting a lot of value, and then I'm also getting the opportunity to travel the world and stay in these incredible places.
Yeah.
And yeah, my advice is just to obviously learn the core skills you need, but also just take those risks and
And what
reach
do your
out.
parents say? Your dad's sound like a pretty, solid job here. He worked for it, he studied for it, and now he's doing it. And you're just
Yeah.
making it up as you go. Do they look at you and say, "Son, this is wonderful," or do they say, "Son, get a career, get a job, get a..."
Yeah,
something?"
I've always said this. My mom and dad are like my two biggest supporters in the world.
They are.
When I was
They are.
16, 17, they were sending me off to Iceland with Miss Ware.
Yeah.
and
I
to
don't know
s-
if I would just say, and not depending on who she is or what, but just, can you handle this at 16?
Yeah.
Are you?
So my
prepared for
mom, first and foremost, she's always just had the mentality of like, hey, this is your dream, go out and get it. And same with my dad. My dad is my biggest supporter in the world. Anything I create or make or share with the world, he's also just broadcasting it on his social medias as well.
Can I ask
So,
you a hard question? I hope this doesn't offend you.
Sure.
Does any of that come from being immigrants? Of having to end your life and go travel to some place you don't speak the language and do any of this? Because we have a lot of people come through here, and to me, the immigrants that come here, they don't just want the American dream; they are the American dream.
Yeah,
They believe the American dream, which is anything's possible.
absolutely. My dad came to the United States when he was 14 years old. Worked his way up.
Probably without much or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. No support. Just 14-year-old just got thrown into the United States, learning English as he's studying through high school, and grew into an incredible career that he's built. But I would definitely say so. The American dream is not just the typical like, hey, come out here and buy a house and that's it. It's just, you got to realize when you live in America, the world is your oyster, right? You have so much opportunity here, and I think a lot of people just sell themselves short. They just go get a job.
I'll give you an
and
example.
call it a day.
Many years ago, I met some young guys who were from Cambodia. And they told me the horrible story of living through, go watch the movie The Killing Fields, of where everybody was just taken out of the cities and just thrown into this country and said, dig. And if you cried or said, dig for what, they shot you. I mean, literally. And so these kids were upended, and their father was a doctor or something, and suddenly they're digging for fields, and suddenly they escaped and came to America, and they didn't speak the language, and they're collecting cardboard. His father was like a doctor, and now they're collecting cardboard boxes to live, and they can't speak the language. Horrible, typical American refugee kind of story, right? But they came here because they believed. And bit by bit, they've saved some money, and they bought a donut shop, and then 2 donuts. Pretty soon they got a bunch of money. And the point of the story is they said to me, we think the streets are paved with gold, and you're either can't see it or you're too lazy to go down and pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's there for the taking, but we've got excuses and reasons why, or we can't just go and do. We have to think about it and tell ourselves why we can't and what we can't, and we put limits on ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I mean, there's no country in the world like, the United States where you can, let's say, build a natural product at home and grow it into a great business, and then a big company will come and buy it for 10, 15, 20 million dollars. There's no other country in the world where you can do that. And with the power of the internet, I think it kind of created there's no barrier, there's no limit to what you can do, right? Anybody can pick up a camera no matter the age and can create content, share their story, and sell millions of dollars of their product, right? It's just about having a story to tell and a product that can actually help people.
This young man at 16 years old also built my very first website because he saw the insight that the internet and the world was out there at your fingertips.
Right.
You just got to learn, software and all that stuff, and it amazed the heart out of me. Also, what amazed the heart out of me is the faith that his mom has instilled in him. And I'm going to, almost put him on the spot, but give him a chance to share a little bit about his faith. In his Syrian hometown, there was Christian churches, and there was Muslim churches, and there's just a really strong
And a lot of other groups we don't know anything about, the Druze. And
just strong. And so what I got to learn from him, and just linking up with that family too, was the beautiful culture of a Muslim upbringing, and he can share more about it. But the food, what it was like for him as a child to be able to go back to his hometown, and it was beautiful.
Where is your hometown?
And
What hometown are you from?
Yeah, so my dad is from a city called Bludan in Syria. It's a unbelievably beautiful city in the mountains, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, to kind of Miss Ware's point, I grew
And the
up.
mountains are where the Alawites live, right?
No, that's a different region.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
it's close. So Bludan, where I'm from, is about 20 minutes by car from Damascus, the
Okay.
capital of Syria,
Right.
one of the oldest cities in the world, the oldest city in the world actually.
yeah.
But yeah, I think my upbringing, coming here to the States when I was under a year old, right, going through the normal American education system, but every summer we would go to Syria and spend 3 months there. So kind of having that duality was really cool
Yeah.
from my upbringing, because I got to experience kind of both sides of the world and instill the best, the best lessons from those, and that kind of shaped who I am today. But yeah, definitely, like growing up in Bludan, there's a mosque and a church right next to each other.
Yeah.
And kind of growing into that was really cool, is because you already kind of naturally see that there's different people in the world, and different people believe different things.
Different choices and different traditions.
Exactly, yeah. So
and they can live together.
my mom was always never kind of the type to, I guess, force religion on me. I think no matter what you're born into, you have to grow into it and learn and understand all the different kind of options you have out there from a religious perspective. But growing up, that was really amazing for me, because I think it's one of the core things that everybody should kind of hold on to, because at the end of the day, you're not going to leave this world with much, right? You're not taking your money, your fame. The only thing you take is the good kind of character.
You don't get a U-Haul and take it to the
Nothing.
next level life. So I got to ask you one question, and maybe we're getting too deep for this show here, but
Sure.
Are you still a religious person?
Yeah, very much so. I'm still Muslim, going to the Friday prayers in the mosques, and
Because half of Americans today say, I'm nothing.
yeah,
I'm none of the above.
It was really cool when we traveled to Iceland. He has an app. He's that generation. he has an app that tells him which direction is east, and
Right.
just to remind him. And honestly, I've never seen a more balanced, amazing, committed man to his family, his life, his faith. You can learn a lot just from someone that actually has put that kind of faith into their life. So he can tell you more about that. But
Because as people grow up, they lose their faith. And that's, I mean, my own daughter's case or others, they just, I don't know. I don't believe in that stuff anymore.
Yeah. I think it's just such a, again, my mom never forced this onto me. I
Right.
really went out and learned about every single religion. I spent about 2 years doing this. And not just from textbook, right? From actually speaking to people from these faiths. And although I was born Muslim, after all the research that I did and all the things I learned, it kind of brought me right back to where
That's
where I
what
was.
resonated for you.
Yeah.
All right, so what's next as you guys run around the world?
well, I see a ring on his finger, and
Oh,
he can tell you some stuff that's
He
going on.
ran into something that slowed him down.
Yeah, it enlightened his life more, and so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah. So, what's next for me is obviously to continue to grow my business and continue to share amazing stories around the
Where
world.
did
But,
you run into your wife?
Yeah. So in actually New York, she's also from Syria, but she was born here. She's lived in New York her whole life. I met her on a work trip, actually. I was doing some projects in New York.
And did you just walk up to her, or did you guys work together, or what was it?
I went up to her originally.
See? Yeah, of course.
And then we kind of stayed in touch, and then things kind of went on from there. And she's amazing. Yeah, she's.
she better be, and and she's getting a great product in you as a person, and probably vice versa. That's awesome.
All right, so the business is called what?
Simplicity Films.
Simplicity
Films.
And that's what the website is?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Simplicity Films, on YouTube as well, Simplicity Films.
And it sounds like you do anything simply anything, but do you specialize, are you trying to aim towards something,
Sure.
documentaries, commercials, feature film, I don't know, whatever, you
All the
tell
above.
me.
Yeah, so my clientele is varied from, the world's largest biomed company to the world's largest real estate platform. But right now, anybody that's trying to sell more, share more of their story online, I help with organic client acquisition, media, obviously filmmaking as well, where that's needed. But anything where you're trying to sell more of your product or service, we'll help you do that with videos and a really good marketing strategy.
Who wants to do that? I want to sell less. Nobody wants to sell more. All right, Caren Ware, what's next for you?
Okay, I can't even talk anymore. But
You're tongue-tied just
I've been
listening.
sitting here too long. You remember that? I'm on my way to a U.S. SoCal national track meet, SoCal track meet, because we have nationals in July. So I'm going to run the 400-meter hurdles and the steeple on Saturday, and I'm going to.
Where at?
This event's out in Moore Park, and it's
okay. All right,
I think it's called the Jim Bush International Invitational or
So
something
people
like
want
that.
to watch you or
Yeah.
cheer for you, you can go out and see Caren at this event.
Yeah,
All right.
and I'm going to dust myself off. I'm a master's runner. So it's really hard to find hurdles to go over and stuff. So we're going to go out there
As
and play
if
around.
life doesn't have enough hurdles. You're actually looking for real hurdles.
And I just want
Maybe I can go over those life hurdles because I've had learned to go over hurdles.
Miss Ware is a real athlete. I ran cross country and track for 4 years in high school.
Right.
I go on a run with her when we were in Hawaii. I couldn't keep up from her. So she's a real deal athlete.
And I'm older, but that's the cool part is that we're masters athletes and we're just running around. There's a lot of big races happening this weekend, but for us, we are really focusing on letting you have a cool, hot summer. We're going to do a 4th of July race at Irvine Valley College.
Okay.
On 4th of July. It's going to be a really, really fun thing with live fife and drums and, the whole atmosphere.
Okay.
And then we're doing something that I knew it would be super fun and cool in the hot summer. We're doing the Splash Dash, and we also have a little thing called the Dry Run if you're intimidated, but we're doing the Splash Dash at Wild Rivers in Irvine.
Literally running through the water.
Literally running through around and then through the aquatics water park and then through their apparatus and their water units. And it's fun. It is really fun.
And that's when?
That's on the 4th Sunday of August, so I think that's August 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So-
and then right into the fall, we have Tiki Beach the last Sunday of
Beach. What is it with
of,
tiki torches and tiki
yeah,
beaches and
so.
tiki hotels and tiki drinks?
Yeah, and then we have real Polynesians that come and dance
Of
and give
course
you the
you
whole,
do.
because everything we try to put a culture around it or something.
I should introduce you to. We had somebody on the other day on another show who's actually a descendant of the royal family from Hawaii.
Oh,
Talk about real
interesting.
Polynesian, and she somehow just has a regular job here now. But she was raised in that royal environment, but that's obviously disappeared through the years.
Well, I
But
got to get her out there to Tiki Beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. And then I'm trying to be the person that runs around the world, but also have these races be really organized and, good businesses. And so I'm putting it out there to you. If it sounds interesting and you want a healthy, audience to showcase whatever you have, product or a business, we're filling up, we want to fill up the expo and give people interactive things that they can do, contact us. So that
and you've already had people. You had a
Yeah.
couple. Last race, I don't go to all the races, but the last one I went to, you had some boxing gym there, and they're going to come and
Yes,
do
right.
something. People want to be part of this. It's a very vibrant community. It's not just hardcore runners. It's everybody, everywhere.
Everybody.
And it's a party. It's a party at the beach or the party at Irvine College or wherever you do it. It's an event. It's an experience. And I heartily encourage you, if you want to be part of an active group of people, just decide, let's get up and run. Mom and pops and kids and grandparents and hardcore runners and who knows who you run into. If you're looking for an active group, this is a place you should actively be at.
So go check it out.
Yeah,
Caren, I'm Caren with the C,
'Cause
with
you
the word
care.
Caren in it. Yeah. So Caren. The last name is Ware, W-A-R-E. So it kind of rhymes, Care Ware.
Yeah.
So CarenWareEvents.com. Hit the calendar section and just go. There's no excuses. You got
People
one
can sign up to run.
fun thing to do
they
per
can
month.
come out
Yes.
to cheer, or maybe if you're a business, you can come out and participate in the party and be part of the expo and get a tent.
Absolutely.
And
And then
exhibit
go
there.
to our YouTube channel, which is also Caren Ware Events, Caren with the C, and dig through it and go back and look at the thing that's in
See
Iceland.
when they're in Iceland.
Yes.
See some of the interviews we did at the
And
last
I
event.
think
yeah.
even way archived in there is one of the original one that he did was the very first one. Was a Halloween themed race at IVC, but there also is one, and I'll have to go dig up what the
I think it
title
was
is.
the Super Bowl.
Or maybe
the
it was the
Super
Super
Bowl
Bowl,
at
and
Irvine Valley College.
then we also have the footage that we have in Maui. So go digging through all those
All
things.
that.
Have fun watching some of them.
Start
and,
by
see this young
watching
man.
and then to realize I can get up and run along with these people. Hey, come on, let's go.
And go to Simplicity Films and just see what kind of content this young man's
He's
doing.
cranking out.
Yeah.
Well, simply the best story I've heard in a while. Thanks for joining us here today on Running
Thank you,
into
sir.
Life. Well, there you have it. I still don't understand how they do it. They just pick up and go right into the cloud, right into the craziness, right into the chaos, and run into life. The journey of finding your fit, or how being active can help you get up and over life's biggest challenges. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.